Who is Laura Cassidy, and what prompted her to start LKA? Let me introduce you to Laura Cassidy, MD, a very special and unusual person. She is the founder of LKA, the Louisiana Key Academy. Dr. Cassidy is a general surgeon specializing in breast cancer, the mother of a wonderful young woman, Kate, who is dyslexic. Although she had never started a school before, Dr. Cassidy's call to action was the knowledge that dyslexia existed, but that none of the nearby schools were recognizing or addressing it. And here is Dr. Laura Cassidy, her lovely daughter Kate, and myself. The science made so much sense, yet it wasn't being acted on in schools. Here's what Dr. Cassidy shared with me. I knew there were dyslexic kids like Kate struggling in public schools, not identified, not being given what they needed. I just had it in my mind that my experience with Kate should be able to offer other dyslexic kids some help. And really, that's what led to the Louisiana Key Academy. I started at the Department of Education, speaking to the people in charge of literacy. I learned that there was not a real division for dyslexia. It was more literacy, with dyslexia underneath that. I didn't really see anything specific being done for dyslexia, and I was opposed to the notion that you would delay identifying children until 3rd grade. I decided to start a charter school specialized for dyslexia, the Louisiana Key Academy, LKA. Starting the school was an involved process. In addition to obtaining state permission for the charter, there was a need to find trained teachers, a location, a building, and funding. Dr. Cassidy attributes much of the success of establishing the school to increasing awareness of dyslexia and getting more people involved. So I asked her, what do you think makes the greatest positive difference to these children when they attend a specialized school for dyslexic children? She responded, attending LKA, Louisiana Key Academy, is a relief for these dyslexic children, whether it's reading aloud in front of the classroom or trying to retrieve a spoken word. Dyslexic children have anxiety. When they were at other schools, most of the children were made fun of, or they knew they were different from the other kids. Attending LKA gives these children breathing room, where they find other children like themselves. There's no sense of shame, no sense of being different from other children. Children at LKA are less anxious, reflecting feelings such as, I'm here, and I'm getting what I need to read, and there are lots of smart kids like me here. And here, Dr. Benachewicz and I are visiting LKA. A great many of our students didn't want to go to their prior school, where they were bullied or made fun of, or even didn't want to go to school at all anymore. Here at LKA, it's still school, so I'm sure there are some days they don't want to go. But for the most part, I think our kids know the teachers love them, and they're here to help them succeed. They know that, and that changes a child's attitude about going to school. The most important thing for teachers to understand is that these children are bright, despite the obstacles they face with language, whether it's reading, spelling, or at times writing. We focus on Dr. Shawitz's Sea of Strengths model. And as you can see here, the Sea of Strengths model conceptualizes a circumscribed weakness in decoding words, surrounded by a large and powerful, one might say awesome, sea of strengths in higher level thinking and reasoning. This helps explain so many revered scientists, writers, attorneys, physicians, financiers, and others who are also dyslexic. And here again, Dr. Benachewicz, Dr. Cassidy, and myself with some of the educators at LKA. Dr. Cassidy is concerned about how very many dyslexic children across the nation go unnoticed, undiagnosed, and unremediated. Dyslexics are spread throughout every school and every classroom. As is far too often the case, the teacher has 27 to 32 and sometimes even more students in a class, and there's pressure to keep the curriculum moving. The end result is that no one identifies the dyslexic child. Sadly, in the typical classroom, dyslexic boys and girls remain undiagnosed and on the periphery of their teacher's concern. As a result, much damage is being done to wonderful, bright children who are struggling to read and going unidentified. Parents are told something meaningless, such as, it's developmental, and to wait and wait and wait some more. So you can see how welcome a school like LKA is. An increasingly acknowledged problem is that children are not being identified early enough in kindergarten or first grade before damage begins. Here's Dr. Cassidy's description of what she has observed at LKA. Our smallest enrollment is in first grade, and we're getting the largest influx in third grade. This means these children have, for the most part, been sitting in schools not identified for years and not getting what they should have gotten. Dyslexic children make up 20% of the student population, and yet, shockingly, schools do not typically screen for dyslexia. Why? I think they're afraid of what they would do once they find the children are dyslexic. My greatest surprise in working to develop LKA has been the lack of awareness of dyslexia within the community, and along with that, the pressing needs of boys and girls who are dyslexic.
So the school here was developed using the National Reading Panel guidelines. And so for the children, when they're in the early years, first through fifth grade, they're in small groups of 6 for reading for an hour and a half. The teacher's trained. They will read out loud, but they're with a group of other dyslexic children. And the teacher can gently give the child feedback, but there would be nothing like, Margaret or Johnny, or why aren't you reading? What's wrong with you? Go ahead and get started. Read faster, or that was poor. It's more of, you're in a small group, you're safe, everybody knows that you're dyslexic, and then the teacher can just gently, if a mistake is made, and instead of it being to one child, sort of like, well, the others of you could have the same problem. And so it's more of a group dynamic, that we're in this together and we're here with this teacher that cares about us and is going to make us better readers.